Hey everyone, welcome to Breakout Wednesday for the 10th of April 2024. It's currently 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 7 p.m. on the East Coast. First of all, remember there's no financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is simply a video blog on how one trader sees the market, and everyone needs to take responsibility for their own decisions. Okay, got some scans and some stocks setting up to go through. Just quickly, a lot of the stocks last week that I talked about haven't really broken out or done anything. CWY has kind of worked its way out of this base now. It's had its first close kind of above all this resistance line, confluence here. And, this is a churner, slow moving stock, but, hanging in there, and going to be really patient on it and try and get a nice push up here, all right? So a lot of the others like STX, hasn't broken out, kind of just went down. I've taken my order off there. GQG was one of the others, and I missed it. I had a buy stop here, and it just kind of jumped my buy stop, and just I missed it by like one tick or something, which is all right. I don't really like chasing much, so that's that. So now quick scan in to do, and because there's some setups to kind of grinding away. I'm just doing this one here, Frank's pattern. I've got the watch list kind of already set up that I'm scanning, right? So BGL is obviously a gold stock, and gold's obviously one of the best sectors right now. It's sitting up here with blue sky above it, right below the $2 level, and it's basing away. It had some great entries kind of a few weeks ago, but for those who missed it, it's now just basing here. And hopefully it's basing for, going to keep basing. If you look at it on a weekly chart, this is its third week basing, in this kind of high tight Davis box here. And ideally it needs longer, three weeks of high tight closes has sufficed in terms of as far as bases go. It hasn't quite given us that, but, I'm hoping it does soon. It just chills out for a bit longer. So it's BGL, which is looking pretty good. Good old, like an expensive bank, NAB. I mean, all the banks have been strong for a while, and I think most people find it pretty hard to get long them after they've already trended for a long time. But they're the banks. They can trend higher for a longer than anyone thinks, and NAB is here just basing away in this box. Okay, if we look on weekly data, it's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is its fifth week of basing, so it's decent. It's just also basing right above this old high, which is pretty damn good. Okay, and so I've got positions in ANZ and CBA, but might need to also just. It's kind of, they're so correlated, right? That if you've already long one or two banks and you go long a third bank, it's kind of like you got one big position. Okay, but it's also a form of pyramiding if you look at it in another way, right? Like if I'm up pretty big on the ANZ and CBA position, so by getting long the NAB on a break, it's kind of like pyramided into those winners, right? So I don't really have a problem with it as long as the positions I'm already in are kind of well in front. That makes sense. Okay, let's just keep going through this watch list. NGI, Navigator Global. So this is one of these asset management companies, and a lot of these companies are in uptrends. I like this. If you go back and count all the candles, say from this low to this high, or even from back here, and most of these candles are opening on near the low and closing near the high. Hey, like this, the buyers are really in control of this stock for most of it. And while we're on this stock, I've talked about this before, but just this is a decent example of it. The on-balance volume indicator, like soon, if you look at my Protrader window here, I've got a volume button here, which you guys don't have yet, okay? And you will soon. And when you click it, all the volume stuff's going to be in there. The on-balance volume indicator is going to be in there too, and you're going to be able to kind of click it and take the OBV away, because not everyone wants to look at it, and so it's be kind of, users can choose what they want to see and what they don't want to see. Because, I like the on-balance volume indicator, but it has its flaws. So this day here where the OBV drops big time, because of this day, the only reason it drops is because the stock gap down and it closed lower than this day. Okay, But I look at this day and say, why? It's not really bearish. It's a kind of a doji, this indecision. The OBV should have really gone sideways that day. And so I've got a kind of a different way of looking at that on-balance volume indicator, and just because it goes down doesn't mean it's bad, okay? If we go back and look at this day, the on-balance volume, like, let's just zoom in on it, right? One sec. Where is it? Okay, look at this day. This is a really good example, actually. This day on the, when is it? The 28th of December. The OBV went down this day because this day closed lower than this day by like a couple ticks, okay? Closed here, and then this day closed here. So therefore, by definition, the OBV needs to go down, okay? This day is like incredibly bullish day. It opens on the low, closes on the high. That's, as bullish as it can get. And so the unbalanced volume indicator there is completely misleading and lying to you. And I'm working on a candle-based on-balance volume indicator that kind of is smarter than that, but it's going to take months and months to get that ready. But I just thought it was worth pointing out. OBV it's definitely got some massive flaws. Okay, let's just move on. So I like NGI mainly because of this, the dominance of these bullish candles, and that can change obviously in a flash. And now it's forming a bit of a tight base. It needs to base there for longer. And if it can do that, this is just a very short-term base. If it can base for longer, then it could be a pretty good setup. Reese, I was talking about Reese back here, and then it just kind of run away on massive earnings, and now it's just basing away, and I'm just watching that for a kind of an entry that makes sense. Hasn't come yet. I could go down and I could start drawing down slope and resistance lines and stuff, but I'm just going to wait and see if something really clean sets up there. Okay. The next Sorry guys, the next scan to do is just this scan. Just candles, scan for more than 3 inside bars on monthly data, okay? So monthly data, ASX, I'm just gonna scan my watch list because it's quicker, saves time, on time. And there's a bunch of stocks. So this is DocuSign on the NASDAQ. I'm sure everyone's heard of DocuSign, okay? Again, hammered, like this August, all the tech stocks were topping out, September, October, right when Bitcoin was topping out, those famous highs of late 2021, and then it's just been absolutely pummeled since then. And so, but it's come up in this tri-point, on a 3 inside bars on monthly data here, okay? And it's just, if you zoom in on this, it's a bit of a wild loose base on daily data, okay? And it's hard to figure out where to get in. You might wait till break at that, but you'd really need to see some tightening action. You look at it on a monthly, and it just kind of, you see this picture of shit, maybe this thing is putting in a stage rate base and really putting in some sideways action, and maybe a break above there, and we're going to have a crack at trending back, and being, and because it's pretty much blue sky above it after that, because this resistance here is, going back a few years now. And so I've got that on the watch list, and it would need to seriously tighten up and give me like a really tight right-hand side where I can get in with a stop loss that actually makes sense. Because right now there's nothing, there's nothing that logically makes sense, right? So, but anyway, that's one on the watch list. The next one on the ASX is DXS, and there's a lot of these REITs or real estate stocks that are coming up in scans right now, and there's a lot of different real estate plays out there, right? And obviously, commercial property, especially office buildings, have a different story and background to the residential ones. Okay, different stages in the life cycle, and so you need to kind of take that into account. But DXS here, it's on. This is a monthly chart, remember, and it's just been basing absolutely sideways for months now, all inside there and tight. This is a weekly chart. You can see it just basing tightly, and this is a daily chart that's wild, a bit more wild and loose, okay? And so I'm kind of just watching that, and I'm thinking, if that can continue to base and it can give me an entry that makes sense. Most of these things pay decent dividends. and most of them have histories going back many years, which makes you feel safe, doesn't it? When it's in a self-managed super fund or something, doesn't mean they can't step up and go broke, but it's pretty easy to look into their cash position and their profits and earnings, all that sort of stuff, right? So that is not on the trading account. That would be more in the long-term self-managed super fund if I end up taking it. EML is another one that just came up with 3 insights. So here's obviously one candle, and all these candles have fallen inside that candle, and there's a lot of been talk about EML. I'm sure there's people watching this that have been in and out of it a million times and maybe even own it and stuff. And but from a bigger picture point of view, this stock's been hammered. It's bottomed and then it's basing and it's going sideways. And now, a bit like a lot of the other stocks, it gets put on the watch list. And if it can tighten, then break above that would be a really good entry. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, are there any left? Yeah, so here's just one on the NYSE rocket companies. It's a mortgage stock, helping people get home loans, all that crap, and it's wild. But have a look at its base. Have a look at its long-term trend, and I think it paints a pretty clear picture of putting in a nice bottom and base there. And and if I can, once again, if it can tighten, give me an entry that makes sense, I'll take it. There's just a few other stocks that have come up in Davis boxes, which I'm just going to skip straight to, that I want to talk about. I think I've talked about GMD before, and it's a gold stock just setting up here. That's been going sideways for a long time, and it's just tightening, and it's at that point now where I'm pretty keen on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is its 5th week of tightening. If you can tighten a bit more, that's great. But I'm still going to take that. I'm going to that one's pretty much ready for me. So GMD, we'll see if it breaks out. If it does, I'll be in it. And the other one that came up, obviously energy's been strong, and CXU's come up on the ASX. It's a little penny dreadful. I don't trade these much these days, but if we put all these moving averages on, it's in an uptrend. It's sitting right above it, and you're probably going to leave that one alone and just concentrate on my kind of more expensive stocks. Have a better win rate on them, but CXU is certainly setting up there. All right, that's it. Take care, everyone. Chat next week. Bye.